All right, so I just finished this numbers program. We're now going to take a look at strings in Java. So if I can get this, so IntelliJ, I'm going to go to File, New Project. Now at this stage of the game, if you want to stay with one project and just keep making new classes, you can do that in IntelliJ. And in that case, if you wanted to do that, you just go, so numbers is already your class. You can create another class in here with a main method as well. You can go to new, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, under SRC, that's how you do it. In SRC, new Java class. So you can do it this way if you want. So new Java class, I'll just show you how to do that. So this is going to be called strings. Don't call it string, make sure you call it string. String is a predefined identifier. If you do call your class a string, we're going to run into some problems later on, or very shortly. So call it strings or string2 or something. But we have to be very careful not to name our class something that's already predefined in Java. Otherwise, when we try to use strings in Java, it will use your project to get all the information it knows about strings. Because remember, computers are fairly dumb machines. They really don't protect you from things like that. So strings, and then as you can see, we now have two classes here. We've got one called numbers that you were just working on in the last video, that I showed you in the last video, and strings, which is fine. We're going to have two main methods in the same project. So if you want to go back and forth between them, you're going to have to double click on each one and then select to run it. Now, if I double click on strings up here, it's still going to run numbers from this top part up here. So we have to be careful. We just have to be aware of what class we're running. If you don't like this, if it looks a little bit too confusing, here's the alternative. You just go to File, New Project. So here's the way you're going to see it in your file folder system. You're going to see all your Java projects in one directory or one folder, and it's going to be divided into folders by project name. So you're going to have a folder called numbers. Now, because I'm creating a new project and I'm going to be calling it strings, I'm going to have a new folder called strings. If you want to do it the other way and you want to have all of your projects in one, all of your classes in one project, maybe call it intro for the entire project and then create all your classes. This is maybe an easier way to do it that I'm showing you right now. So once again, from wherever you are, it doesn't matter where you are, go to File, New, Project. Just go to Next, and just Next. We're not creating it from a template, just Next. Under project name, call it numbers. Just as an aside, for those of you that do want to have a single project for all of your classes and all of your programs that we're writing, here's where you would put something like intro unit or something like that, introductory unit, all one word or with an underscore. Also, just as a reminder, I said this in the last video, your project name has to start with a capital letter. So numbers starts with a capital letter. You'll see your project location there. If you don't like it, see, this is my laptop, so I'm able to save it to the C drive. And I'm going to be erasing this later anyway. I'm just doing it for video purposes. But for yourself, make sure you're saving it to your OneDrive or your H drive. So finish directory is taken by the project number. See, because I created that other class. I'm just going to call it, what am I doing? It wasn't supposed to be called numbers anyway. I made a mistake. It's supposed to be called strings, right? Strings. So finish strings. Hopefully I haven't thoroughly confused you. We're doing strings. The name of this video is strings. So open project, I'm going to just say this window. So here we go, strings. I'm going to use this arrow to open up or to drill down into the strings project. Right click on SRC and select new Java class, just as we did before. We're going to be doing that every time now. And okay, so now that you've done that, I'm going to call it, the name of your class has to be the same as the name of your project. So strings with an S at the end, press enter. Public class strings. Here's that long line that we did before to create our main method. Public static void For those of you that have done functions or defs in the past in Python, which I think most of you have, if you remember with defs, I'm just going to do this as an aside. Defs were functions in Python, and they could return things. So methods can also return things. By putting the keyword void, it's telling Java we're not returning anything. This is a main method. So that's where the keyword void comes from. Public means it's available anywhere, including different classes. And static, we'll get to that later. Okay, main, and then we're just going to say string args. By the way, this string args thing only really matters if you're running it from the command line and you want to pass some arguments when you type in the command. For any of you have dabbled in the command line maybe, or you've used Linux in the past, which is probably 1 or 2% of you, so doesn't matter. I'll continue. We're just going to remember that line. We're just going to kind of, that's our main method. That's all you have to know. So if you want to make a string, so remember recall from Python, or if you've done another programming language, a string allows you to store characters. Any character you can type on the keyboard, many characters you can't even type from the keyboard, special characters, and stored in a variable. So strings in Java are objects. Objects are a really important part of Java, but all you have to know now is strings, the word string has to be capitalized. Now that string has nothing to do with this class here that's called strings. I just called my class strings, but string is a predefined thing in Java that allows us to create like a variable or an object that stores a variable that includes characters, special characters, numbers, anything you want. So I'm going to call it name. And all that does is declare, so here's my comment, declare a string type variable. And it's called name. So now we're going to set it equal to something. We're going to say name equals Notre Dame. And okay, so our string name is Notre Dame. I'm going to put the semicolon at the end of that line to denote that that's the end of the line. So far we've declared our string, and now we're initializing it to give it a name, Notre Dame. Initialize the string's value, and now we can print it. What else would I want to show you here? I think that's pretty much it. So system.out.println, and you don't want the quotes here. You just want the word name, and that'll work fine. That'll just print out Notre Dame. But if you want to have a string in front of it, use the plus sign to join them together, and you can do that as well. So our school is called space and then Notre Dame. Okay, I just want to note a few things. So I have this in my notes. So int and double, those are primitive data types. That's what we saw in our numbers project that we just did. But strings, so string is an object type. And an object type, I want you to know that objects come from classes. So classes are like the cookie cutters, and objects are an instance of each class. So string itself is a predefined Java class. Don't get it mixed up with this here, strings. This is the name of our project and our main method in our class. But this string here, this is a predefined Java thing. And if I was to create another string called last name or string password, for example, that would be another instance, another object that was derived from the string class. So we're going to start using that nomenclature, I guess. So classes and objects. All classes start with a capital letter, and the objects start with a lowercase letter. And that's it for now.